Hello friends, and explorers in pursuit of the world's most beloved treat. Today, we'll focus on the history of cacao, chocolate which began 40 years ago in the Olmec forests and was once used as currency. From the Maya's sacred drink to the luxurious salons of Europe, we'll uncover the secrets of this fascinating history. I'm curious, what's your favorite chocolate? It's always a pleasure to read your comments. Our journey begins with the Olmec, one of the oldest known civilizations in Mesoamerica. Roughly around 1500 BCE, these folks are credited with some of the first cultivated cacao plants, the ancestors of your favorite chocolate bar. For them, cacao wasn't just a snack. It was a sacred being, literally considered food of the gods. Imagine that. A bitter seed so prized it was sometimes used as currency or ground into a paste for a ritual drink. This wasn't your average hot cocoa. It was a foamy, spicy brew, often mixed with chili peppers or cornmeal. Archaeologists have uncovered pottery shards with cacao residue, confirming this early use. But historians still debate exactly how the Olmec processed and enjoyed it. Was it always bitter? Or did they sweeten it somehow? That question remains deliciously unanswered. You might find it odd that what we think of today as a sweet treat began life as a fiery, frothy beverage that could double as an energy boost, kind of like ancient espresso, but with a kick. Interestingly, cacao beans were so valuable they served as money. Think about that the next time you check your wallet. Ancient traders could buy slaves food and even land with a handful of these beans. You could say it was the original bean currency, though I wouldn't advise trying to pay your barista with them today. One quirky fact is that cacao trees thrive only in very specific climates close to the equator. So this sacred treat was initially only accessible to those in certain tropical regions. The ancient civilizations that prized it kept its secrets, while making cacao a rare and luxurious item for centuries. As you imagine yourself walking among towering cacao trees, feeling the rough bark and breathing in the humid air, notice how this humble being sets the stage for a global story that will unfold over thousands of years. From sacred rituals to your nighttime chocolate cravings. So relax, settle deeper into your chair, and let the slow rhythm of history carry you into the mysterious origins of chocolate. We'll meet fascinating characters and uncover surprising twists on the journey ahead. You're still wandering through the lush jungles of ancient Mesoamerica, but now your focus shifts to the Maya who came after the Olmecs and took cacao worship to an entirely new level. Imagine sitting with a Maya noble, surrounded by the vibrant colors of their temple murals and the scent of burning copal incense. This was a world where cacao wasn't just food or money. It was a social and spiritual symbol woven deep into daily life and ceremony. You watch as a frothy cup of cacao is passed around during an elite gathering, thick and bitter, sweetened, perhaps by honey or vanilla. The Maya were among the first to turn cacao into a sophisticated drink, using tools like the wooden frothing stick called a molino to create that signature foam. It's a texture and ritual you'd recognize today, even if the flavors are far less sugary than the chocolate bar sitting on your kitchen shelf. Historians still debate whether cacao was enjoyed primarily by the elite, or if common folks also had access. Some believe it was a privilege of the upper class, while others suggest broader use among the population, especially during festivals and special events. Either way, cacao was deeply embedded in the culture used in weddings, funerals. The Maya believed that cacao had magical properties and linked it to the god Aku, protector of cacao and merchants. They even painted coca pods on their temples and depicted coca drinking scenes in their artwork, making it clear that coca was much more than a beverage. It was a divine connection. You might smile at this next detail. Coca beans were also used to pay taxes and tribute, and they even appear in ancient Mayan hieroglyphics as symbols of wealth and prosperity. Imagine going to the market and handing over a handful of beans for your bread or cloth. It's a bit like trading your Bitcoin for a loaf of bread, except stickier. And in case you wondered about preservation, cacao beans were often stored carefully, protected from moisture and pests. The Maya took their cacao seriously. No stale chocolate for them. Their techniques might seem humble by today's standards, but they were surprisingly effective for their time. Picture yourself sipping this foamy drink alongside those ancient Maya nobles. It's the bitter spice, the earthy aroma, the ancient ritual. All combines into an experience that's both foreign and oddly comforting, like a connection across millennia through a cup of shared history. Let yourself drift with a story as the cacao journey moves forward from these jungle temples toward distant lands and new chapters. You follow the trail of cacao beans as they travel beyond the dense jungles, reaching the Aztec Empire where cacao becomes an emblem of power and prestige. Picture yourself in the bustling marketplace of Tenochtitlan, the Aztec capital with its canals and towering temples. The air thick with a sense of exotic spices and freshly ground maize. Among the traders, cacao beans gleam like little treasures, coins of a different kind. Here cacao is strictly a luxury reserved for the nobility, warriors, and priests. You watch an Aztec emperor receiving a lavish gift, a golden cup filled with a cherished cacao drink spiced with chili and flavored with vanilla. It's thick, bitter, and intensely energizing. Nothing like the sweet chocolate bars you're used snacking on. You imagine the slight burn from the chili, a surprise twist to a drink that was more about vigor and ceremony than comfort. Historians still debate exactly how cacao rituals varied between different social classes. Some argue that while the elites consumed it regularly, the commoners might only taste it during festivals or religious events, making it a symbol of social distinction. It's like the VIP lounge of ancient beverages, an eccentric fact to ponder. The Aztecs used cacao beans as currency, but also as a form of punishment. If someone owed a debt, they might be required to pay in beans or, in some cases, forfeit their cacao supply altogether, which was practically a social death sentence. Imagine a world where your chocolate stash was both your paycheck and your social badge. You might find it amusing that the Aztecs had a Cacao god, Tecatecatl. The feathered serpent was believed to have gifted Cacao to humans. This divine origin story added layers of reverence and mystery to the humble being. Interestingly, the Aztecs were pioneers in developing cacao recipes that included unique ingredients like cornmeal, honey, and even flower petals, creating complex flavors that modern chocolatiers might envy. It wasn't just a drink, it was a culinary experience. As you sipped this spiced brew alongside the Aztec elite, you realized that cacao wasn't just about flavor, it was a bridge between the earthly and the divine, a potent symbol of life, death, and renewal. And as the sun sets over the grand city of Tenochtitlan, the story of Cacao prepares to cross an ocean heading toward lands and peoples who would transform it once again. The journey of Cacao takes you across the vast Atlantic Ocean as Spanish conquistadors arrive in the early 16th century, introducing the Aztec treasure to Europe. Imagine yourself aboard one of those creaky wooden ships, the salty sea air mingling with the scent of unfamiliar spices and the slightly bitter aroma of cacao beans stored in barrels below deck. You're part of an expedition that is about to change the taste buds of an entire continent. When the Spaniards finally present the cacao drink to the European elite, it's a curiosity wrapped in mystery. But the Europeans never want to leave. Things untouched start tinkering. They add sugar, vanilla, and cinnamons, sweetening and softening the originally bitter concoction into something more palatable to their delicate palates. You can almost hear the collective sigh of relief as this new chocolate becomes a decadent treat for the nobility. Historians still discuss who exactly added the sugar first. Some say Spanish monks, others Portuguese traders. But what's clear is that this sweetened version rapidly gained popularity, especially in the royal courts of Spain and France. Imagine decadent banquet where chocolate drinks flowed alongside wine served in ornate cups, a symbol of status and refinement. Here's a curious nugget for a long time. Chocolate was believed to have medicinal properties in Europe, thought to cure ailments ranging from indigestion to fatigue. You might chuckle picturing apothecaries recommending chocolate tonics, alongside their herbal remedies, almost like a delicious placebo. Interestingly, the European elite guarded their chocolate recipes closely, and chocolate houses emerged thoroughly, ancestors of coffee shops where the aristocracy could relax, sip, and socialize. You can picture a quiet, smoky room filled with soft murmurs and the clink of porcelain cups. As chocolate slowly seeped into European culture, historians debate when exactly solid chocolate bars appeared. But what's agreed upon is that these European innovations, like conking and tempering, would eventually transform cacao into the snackable treat we adore today. And yet the bean's journey from sacred drink to sweet solid remains a tale of gradual discovery. As you watch this transformation unfold, you realize cacao is no longer just a new world. Curiosity, it's becoming a global commodity, laying the groundwork for the chocolate industry that will captivate hearts and stomachs for centuries to come. As chocolate settles into European culture, you find yourself wandering through 17th century Paris, where chocolate becomes the darling of the aristocracy. Picture lavish salons filled with powdered wigs, embroidered coats, and the gentle clinking of porcelain cups brimming with rich, steaming chocolate drinks. You're here just as chocolate crosses the threshold from exotic novelty to everyday indulgence among the wealthy. The French, always eager to outdo their neighbors, experiment with new ways to enjoy chocolate. They invent cold chocolate drinks and serve it with whipped cream, a bit like an 18th century version of a mocha latte, though perhaps without the caffeine kick. You can almost smell the sweet aroma mixing with the scent of freshly baked pastries in these bustling cafes. Here's a quirky fact. Some nobles even used chocolate as a belief that lingered for centuries. Imagine a courtier nervously offering a chocolate treat with a wink, hoping it might sway a potential lover. While this might seem like a rom-com cliché today, chocolate's supposed magical qualities certainly added to its allure. Historians still debate how much chocolate really influenced European court life versus being a status symbol. But it's clear that it carried a certain mystique. You can almost see the powdery faces and rude cheeks, sipping and savoring the bittersweet drink as a mark of sophistication and taste. Meanwhile, chocolate's journey takes a new turn as colonial plantations in the Caribbean and South America ramp up production, often relying on enslaved labor in uncomfortable reality, shadowing the sweet story. You quietly note this contrast, where something so delightful to the senses hides a darker human cost. On a lighter note, the Industrial Revolution looms ahead, and chocolate is about to get a serious makeover. But before that, you pause to enjoy the slow, rich history of chocolate as a luxurious beverage enjoyed by kings, queens, and anyone who could afford it. You now find yourself in the heart of the Industrial Revolution, the 19th century, a time when chocolate's quiet, aristocratic charm begins to mix with a clatter of machines and the rush of factories. Imagine yourself walking down a bustling street in London or Brussels, the air thick with smoke and the smell of freshly baked bread. As chocolate transforms from an elite luxury into a product for the masses, this is when things really start to change. The invention of the cocoa press in 1828 by Conrad Vantin revolutionizes the chocolate world. Suddenly, cocoa butter is separated from the cocoa solids, allowing for a smoother, more consistent chocolate product. You can almost hear the satisfying clank of the press, a little machine with a big impact. chocolate becomes less of a drink and more of a solid treat. You can imagine families sharing chocolate bars in the evenings, children excited by this new, sweet delight. Here's a fun twist. Early chocolate bars were sometimes mixed with unusual ingredients like seaweed or even a bit of chili pepper, an echo of ancient Mesoamerican flavors that stubbornly refuse to fade away. Historians still debate whether these early chocolate bars were truly the first modern chocolates or just a stepping stone toward the candy bars we know today. Regardless, you feel the shift. Chocolate is no longer just for the rich. It's creeping into everyday life, becoming a comforting treat during the tough industrial years. Ooh. And here's a quirky tidbit. During this era, some clever inventors experimented with using chocolate as a form of currency or ration for soldiers, thinking it would boost morale and energy. While that might not have made the soldiers happier, it sure shows how chocolate was gaining serious cultural weight. As you stroll past factory chimneys and shop windows, displaying rows of chocolate boxes, you realize you're witnessing the birth of a chocolate boom that will soon sweep across continents. It's a bittersweet moment, literally and figuratively. You step into the early 20th century, a world buzzing with innovation, jazz, and the first flickers of modern advertising. Chocolate is now firmly a beloved indulgence, but it's still evolving in ways you might not expect. Picture yourself in a cozy parlor or a bustling city cafe where chocolates are no longer just a treat, but also a status symbol and a gift of affection. The Swiss particularly play a starring role here. You can almost hear the ticking of a precision watchmaker's bench because chocolate becomes an art of precision and craftsmanship. Rudolf Lind's invention of the Conchking machine in 1879, though technically a bit earlier, still reverberates as you taste the silky smoothness of Swiss chocolate. This machine grinds and aerates the chocolate, removing bitterness and giving that melt-in-your-mouth texture you now take for granted. A surprising fact, the first chocolate bars were sometimes wrapped in decorative papers that doubled as collectible cards, making the treat as much about the experience as the flavor. Imagine trading those cards with friends during recess. A LLS version of Pokemon cards. But for chocolate lovers, historians still debate whether the surge of mass-reduced chocolate lessened its artisanal value or simply made joy accessible to all. You might find yourself agreeing with either side, depending on how you feel about your favorite chocolate bar. Meanwhile, chocolate becomes entwined with celebrations. Eggs, Valentine's Day hearts, and birthday cakes all start to feature it prominently. You get the sense that chocolate is becoming a symbol of comfort and connection in an increasingly busy, sometimes chaotic world. And here's a little oddity for your thoughts. During World War I, the US government sent chocolate bars with added caffeine to soldiers, calling them a little pick-em-up. The bars were designed to withstand extreme conditions, proving chocolate wasn't just tasty, was practical in a very surprising way. So as jazz tunes hum softly in the background and you sip your warm drink, you feel that chocolate's journey is becoming something much bigger than just a sweet treat. It's a cultural icon weaving through everyday life, history, and even war. You find yourself stepping into the roaring 1920s, a decade of jazz, flappers, and significant social change. Chocolate is riding this wave of modernity, evolving from a simple luxury into an essential part of popular culture. Imagine the bright lights of New York or Paris, where chocolate shops are bustling and chocolates experiment with new forms and flavors to keep up with the energetic pace of the times. By now, milk chocolate dominates the scene, thanks in large part to the innovations of Swiss confectioners like Daniel Peter, who perfected the combination of cocoa and milk. You might be surprised to know that early milk chocolates often contained more condensed milk than actual milk powder, creating a sweeter, richer flavor that suited the era's taste for indulgence. Here's a quirky fact. The first chocolate candy bars specifically marketed to women appeared during this time, often promoted with slogans promising a moment of calm or a touch of elegance. It's a fascinating glimpse into how marketing began shaping not only chocolate's taste, but also its social meaning. Historians still debate how much these marketing campaigns reflected genuine consumer demand versus shaping it through clever advertising. You might think it's a bit of both, especially as chocolate's role in gender and social identity becomes clearer. Meanwhile, you can imagine the Great Depression looming, but chocolate remains a comforting escape. Hershey's introduce affordable bars that become household staples. The familiar simple taste of these bars offers a small feat relief during difficult times. On a curious note, did you know that in the 1920s, unique flavor combinations, these daring blends hinted at the future of chocolate experimentation that continues today? As you settle deeper into this decade, you realize that chocolate has become more than food. It's a symbol of comfort, style, and even rebellion against the hardships of the era. You're drifting into the 1940s now, a time when the world is at war, and chocolate has taken on a new, unexpected role far beyond indulgence. Picture soldiers in muddy trenches or dusty battlefields clutching their rationed chocolate bars become vital morale boosters, compact energy sources designed to keep them going. The US military's Dacian bar was famously designed to be nutritious, but deliberately bitter and hard to chew, so soldiers wouldn't eat it too quickly. You probably wouldn't want to snack on one casually at home. Here's a little known tidbit. Soldiers often gave their chocolate rations away to locals or used them as currency, trading them for food or favors. Chocolate for a moment became a kind of wartime barter good, far more valuable than you'd expect from something so sweet. Historians still debate just how effective these bars were in sustaining energy, especially in harsh climates. Some argue that the tough texture made it difficult to consume enough calories quickly, while others say it was exactly what was needed for long marches back home. Chocolate production faced shortages because key ingredients like sugar were rationed. Chocolate companies had to get creative, sometimes using molasses or other sweeteners as substitutes. You might find it amusing that during this time, a few experimental bars contained surprising fillers like powdered milk or soy. Not quite the smooth chocolate experience you're used to. Meanwhile, LRA also saw the rise of iconic brands, Hershey's and Cadbury among them, that cemented chocolate's place in everyday life. Even with all the wartime challenges, you can almost hear the gentle clink of a chocolate wrapper popping open in a cozy kitchen after a long day. As you relax into this section, you realize chocolate's journey is much more than a sweet story. It's woven into moments of history, survival, and unexpected kindness amid conflict. You're stepping into the post-war era, the 1950s and 60s, when chocolate evolves from a wartime necessity into a symbol of comfort and domestic luxury. Imagine pastel-colored kitchens with shiny appliances, where homemakers unwrap smooth milk chocolate bars as a little daily reward. This is the age of mass production, advertising jingles, and the birth of the iconic chocolate bunny and candy. Bars shaped like everything from cars to astronauts. One quirky fact is that during this time, companies experimented with bizarre flavors, chocolate mixed with bacon, cheese, or even coffee. You might raise an eyebrow at that combo, but hey, taste buds were just starting to explore. Some of these odd creations faded quickly, while others found a niche fans. Historians debate whether the rise of chocolate marketing shaped consumer culture, or merely reflected it. Did chocolate create demand for comfort in a rapidly modernizing world, or was it just along for the ride? On the science side, this era saw advances in processing techniques. Conning and tempering got refined to create the silky textures we now take for granted. And here's a fun little nugget. Many early home refrigerators struggled with chocolate. causing it to bloom and develop those white streaks you've probably noticed and wondered about. Turns out that's just cocoa butter rising to the surface. Still safe to eat, but a bit less pretty. You can almost hear the soft hum of a vinyl record and the clinking of teacups as families share sweet treats after dinner. A gentle reminder that chocolate isn't just about flavor, it's about those slow, cozy moments that make a house a home. You find yourself in the vibrant 1970s and 80s, when chocolate starts taking on a more global identity beyond your typical bar. This is the decade where fair trade and ethical sourcing begin creeping into conversations, albeit slowly. Picture bustling urban farmers markets and small cafes offering Sigma chocolates that come with a story about a faraway place and its people. One quirky fact is that this was also the era when chocolate sculpture competitions gained popularity. Imagine artists painstakingly carving entire scenes, castles, animals, even portraits out of pure chocolate. These sweet masterpieces could literally melt away if the room got too warm, which made the whole event as thrilling as it was delicious. Historians still discuss how much the bento bar movement influenced modern chocolate culture. Was it a true push for transparency and quality, or more of a hipster trend that made chocolate feel fancy again? Either way, it marked a turning point. This period also saw a revival of old recipes and a surge in artisan chocolate. You might sip a rich, dark, hot chocolate that feels like it carries centuries of tradition in every warm, velvety sip. Remember that early effort at home chocolate making where the uneven melting probably frustrated you. Now these artisans have perfected their craft down to the molecular level by now. Chocolate's journey feels less like a fast-paced sprint and more like a calm river. Steady, deep, and inviting. It's not just a treat anymore. It's an experience. You savor slowly, much like the gentle cadence of this story carrying you along. You're now stepping into the 1990s and early 2000s, a time when chocolate becomes a truly global commodity, showing up in supermarkets everywhere with dazzling packaging and endless varieties. You stroll down aisles filled with bars, boasting everything from chili flakes to sea salt flavors that might have sounded strange just a few decades earlier. The 9 South also usher in the era of mass advertising, with catchy jingles and memorable mascots making chocolate a pop culture icon. Fun little tidbit here is that the 9 South saw the rise of chocolate tourism. People began traveling to famous cocoa-producing countries like Ghana and Costa Rica, eager to see where their favorite sweet treat originated. You can almost imagine tourists snapping photos next to towering cacao trees, all while learning how those bitter beans eventually turn into smooth chocolate. There's an ongoing debate among food historians about whether this global commercialization diluted the authenticity of traditional chocolate making, or simply helped spread its joy to more people. You might lean one way or the other, but either way, the global expansion gave chocolate a new kind of cultural significance. You might even recall that first time you bought a novelty chocolate bar, maybe with popping candy or a strange combination of nuts and fruit, and felt like you were exploring new worlds. Meanwhile, companies are experimenting with sustainability initiatives, trying to balance mass production with ethical concerns. A tricky dance still unfolding today. As you follow this sweet trail, it becomes clear that chocolate's story is as rich and complex as the flavor itself, gently inviting you to savor every bite and every moment. You find yourself drifting into the early 21st century, where chocolate doesn't just satisfy your sweet tooth, becomes a symbol of luxury, wellness, and even identity. Specialty chocolates start to emerge, focusing on single-origin beans, artisanal methods, and ethical sourcing, almost like wine connoisseurs carefully swirling a glass to detect subtle notes. You imagine yourself sitting in a cozy chocolate shop, the air thick with the aroma of roasted cacao and hints of vanilla. An interesting little fact is that this period saw the rise of bento bar makers, small producers who control every step from harvesting to packaging, trying to bring back the purity of chocolate's roots. It's like the slow food movement, but in chocolate form. You might find it curious that despite all this focus on refinement, some people still enjoy the simple nostalgia of a classic milk chocolate bar wrapped in shiny foil. Historians still debate whether this recent chocolate renaissance is a true return to authenticity or just another marketing trend designed to attract affluent consumers. It's a nuanced argument, like asking whether craft beer really tastes better or just feels more exclusive. Meanwhile, chocolate becomes linked with wellness. As studies show, small amounts may boost mood and even cognitive function. You picture yourself nibbling on a few dark chocolate squares after a long day, feeling justified by science. But remember that quirky claim you heard about chocolate's aphrodisiac powers. It turns out that's more myth than fact. But hey, it adds a fun whisper to the chocolate lore. So as you relax here, consider how chocolate has woven itself into modern culture. Not just as a treat, but as an experience complex, comforting, and a little mysterious. You are now wandering through the digital age where chocolate meets technology, social media, and global trends. Imagine scrolling through your phone to find endless chocolate recipes, from simple hot cocoa to elaborate cakes adorned with shimmering gold leaf. The world of chocolate becomes more accessible than ever, yet paradoxically more curated and stylized, like a perfectly filtered Instagram feed. One fascinating tidbit is the rise of bean hacking, where scientists and war scientists and chocolatiers experiment with fermenting cacao in new ways, tweaking flavors to surprise even the most seasoned palate. You can almost hear the debates in cozy cafes about whether a rare fermentation method truly enhances the chocolate's depth, or just adds an unnecessary layer of complexity. Historians and food scholars still debate how much globalization has changed traditional chocolate. Making versus preserving ancient methods. Was the industrial boom a blessing or a curse? You might think of it like jazz music, evolving from its roots, always adapting but never quite the same. Meanwhile, chocolate's role in cultural celebrations expands. From wedding favors to movie nights, it becomes a universal comfort. Yet you might smile knowing that in some corners of the world, people still enjoy raw cacao in its bitter, unprocessed form, savoring the taste as an ancient ritual. It's a reminder that chocolate's story is not just sweetness, but also the bittersweet legacy of history. So, as you sink deeper into calm, think about how chocolate's journey mirrors humanity's own, full of transformation, connection, and a little bit of magic. By now, you're resting comfortably in the quiet moments where the story of chocolate reaches your own doorstep. Imagine holding a small piece of chocolate in your hand, its smooth surface warming slightly, the scent gentle and inviting like a soft memory. It's incredible to realize that this simple pleasure has traveled thousands of miles through centuries of change carried by explorers, traders, and dreamers. You might ponder the irony that something so indulgent began as a bitter, sacred drink reserved for ancient rulers and ceremonies. The way chocolate transformed alongside human culture reflects a slow, steady rhythm, not unlike your own breath right now, steady and calm. The debates about chocolate's origins and its evolving place in society remind you that history isn't fixed. It's always unfolding, just like the soft shadows playing across your room. Historians still discuss the true impact of chocolate on economies and cultures, but tonight, none of that feels urgent. And so, the rich and aromatic journey of chocolate from the Amazon rainforest to modern factories comes to an end. It's truly fascinating that a single piece of chocolate holds thousands of years of cultural heritage and the power of this fruit to connect the world. This story is a legacy that whispers the depths of history with every bite. After this captivating journey, don't forget to subscribe.